What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the Ring the Bell. I'm sorry, not Ring the Bell.
What
Welcome to the
the
Hot Tag
fuck am
Wrestling
I? What
Show.
have you done?
It popped up on the right side here, and I was like, "Oh, I was reading it," and I was like, "I'm sorry. This is the Hot Tag Wrestling Show."
I've been heckin' bamboozled.
I know. I'm sorry. Yeah, my bad. No, this is not a Phillies baseball show. That's tomorrow night on a different channel. This is the Hot Tag Wrestling Show. George Rogers, Christy Francisco are here with you. George, how the hell are you, man? What's going on?
Hey man, I'm just living.
Yeah,
I didn't have anything funny prep to say, so we're
it's
just gonna go
okay.
with that.
It's all right.
Yeah.
So we're gonna kick things off. One, if in case y'all didn't know, this week's episode is WWE Bad Blood from way back in 2004, June 13th, the 20-year anniversary, George, of this show was 2 days ago. How old does that make us feel? Like, how old does that make you feel that this pay-per-view was 20 years old 2 days ago?
Well, Chris, I'll put it to you this way. I had already been with Staples for 3 months when this pay-per-view came out.
Holy cow. That
So
puts that in perspective.
so that puts it into a little bit of perspective
Yeah.
when you realize that my tenure in that place ran from 2004 to 2023. So
Wow. All right. So I want to ask you two questions. One, who killed WCW on Vice? There's been two episodes so far. To be transparent, I have watched both of them.
as have I.
Um, your thoughts on it, and why is everyone blaming Eric Bischoff?
All right, so I think Bischoff shoulders a lot of the blame because he's the easy scapegoat. He's the easy one to blame. The easiest people in the world to blame for the failure of WCW is Eric Bischoff, Vince Russo, and the AOL Time Warner merger, which
Yeah.
one of those is accurate. And it
Right.
was the last one that I said.
Right.
Bischoff did what he could with what he had. I mean, yes, he did a lot of stupid shit. And yes, he ran the NWO maybe a little too much, probably ignored a lot of the mid card. And Russo he's a product of his writing, but the company still would have thrived at some juncture, even with Eric Bischoff running or Vince Russo running it. But if you don't have a network, you don't have a company.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, everyone will tell you that. I mean, that's the sole reason why ECW ended up having to flip because they couldn't get a TV deal.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the reasons why ECW failed, but like WCW, and it was that. But what I like about this series is that it's going back and you're hearing a lot from the guys who were there,
Right.
which is good, and you get a little bit of an unfiltered vibe from them as well because none of these guys. I mean, first things first, it's not a WWE produced
Right.
documentary. Yes,
Right.
it's done by The Rock's $7 a
Production.
pound. I don't know what it's $7 production. Yes, it's done by him, and yes, for some reason, he's the only fucking person being interviewed who never wrestled in a WCW ring, which is confusing to me. But whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not. It wasn't my call, so I don't really care. But you get kind of this unfiltered vibe. Like Brett is the angriest fucking man in the world, and god damn it, I love it.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's like the second.
he's willing to blame everybody and anybody.
Yeah. Yeah, he'll never. The only thing nowadays that he'll take blame for, he does take partial blame for the Montreal screw job. But when it comes to WCW, he has wiped his hands of absolutely everything involving that company with
Yeah.
him. But if again, and I'll say this to everybody, if you go read Bret the Hitman Hart's book, you can pretty much read his own words where he said he just showed up, was told what to do, didn't complain, and collected his $2.8 million a year. So it's not like Bret Hart, Mr. Creative Charisma, Excellence of Execution, greatest of all time, ever walked into a WCW, creative meeting or in the hallways and said, "Hey, what about this for my character?" So, Bret, you sometimes, of course, you can blame the bookers or the booker man, whoever controlled your fate in WCW. But dude, if you're Bret the Hitman Hart, you're getting paid probably as much. I mean, you're probably the second highest paid guy on that roster. Why don't you say something like, "Hey, I'm not doing this"? Who's going to tell you no besides brother? Like, who's going to tell you no?
That's the thing with someone like Brett. He wants to come in and just be as professional as possible. So the way he looks at it is if he tells somebody no, then he turns into like a backstage problem, which is something he doesn't really want to be.
Makes
Or,
sense.
I mean, you figure in the years of dealing with the clique, he's going to try his best to not politic or
Mhm.
stay as far away from that kind of scenario as possible.
Yeah. But I'm excited to see what's it, a 4-part docu-series, correct? So,
Something like that. Yeah. I mean, I watched 10 parts on it. I don't even care. I'm enjoying this so far.
yeah.
And I like because they're not saying anything that we don't already know,
Right.
because like we know we've kind of already lived through that era, and then we bought the rise and fall of WCW DVD when that came out.
Yep.
We've seen a lot of this, so we know. But you get these people who are, they started watching wrestling in 2004, like after WCW was gone, so they don't
Right. Yeah.
really know. So
Right.
they look at it like, oh well, Bischoff killed WCW, Bischoff killed WCW. It's like, no, like you like, in essence, yeah, you don't really look at backstage politics, but you do in this scenario because you realize it's not him. And from what in this last episode, the way Bischoff got fired the first time for WCW was it seems like the most fucked up way to get rid of somebody, because they basically accused him of embezzling funds, and he's like, "What are you talking about?"
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it was their way of just getting him away to just bring in whoever because they didn't give a shit.
And if for those who don't listen, I strongly recommend that you guys listen to 83 Weeks, the podcast of Eric Bischoff. If you go back, 6, 7 years when his podcast started, he talks about it and breaks down the business side. So he goes in the weeds, as they say. And I love that aspect of Bischoff because he's a vice president. He dealt with the higher ups at Turner, and he dealt with with the analytics and the funds, the accounting of everything. He was correct. Everything he said was accurate in terms of from day one, everybody but Ted Turner wanted WCW off their television at
Mhm.
Turner Networks. So they did whatever they could from the second he took over until the day the doors closed to get WCW off the Turner Networks. And it ended up working. Bischoff, of course, made a lot of mistakes, but guess what? Look, man, Kevin Sullivan said it during his interview in that episode too. That dude created, and I believe this, and it's not a great thing, and it's not popular to say because again, there's a lot of new wrestling fans. Without WCW Monday Nitro, without the NWO, you do not get the Attitude Era. You
Yeah,
get nothing. You don't get it. And that's why I think it's very fair to not call it the Attitude Era. It should be called the Nitro Era because the Nitro Era gave us everything that we're watching today. And Eric Bischoff is the man who gets that credit. And it's a shame when I see that dude get thrown under the mud by, AEW, window lickers and all those kind of dudes, because it's like, of course, Eric Bischoff has a right to talk about the business of professional
yeah,
wrestling. He almost was the king of it. Literally, if he would have had a network and a mega company behind him to push WCW instead of having to, be put himself, backed into a corner to fight out of it nonstop, we could be talking about WCW Nitro still on today instead of
yeah.
Monday Night Raw or WWE SmackDown. And I'm excited to get to the end of this documentary to see what kind of light they put on Eric Bischoff. But to me, after watching the first 2 episodes, George, I don't know how you feel, but it actually makes me have so much more respect for the guy.
I mean, I've always had respect for Eric Bischoff. Like, I
Yeah,
mean, I always see him. He'll come up or he'll say something on Twitter that's a valid criticism, and he criticizes the entire product.
he does.
It's not just AEW. The reason why the AEW stuff gets gets more attention
It's
is
because they're all
because
defensive about it.
that's the stuff people are listening to. They're not listening to the fact that he'll criticize WWE all day.
Yeah,
He'll point out what works and what doesn't work. He does it all the time. He's been talking about this Cody reign ever since he got the title, and like what's
yeah,
working, what isn't working. So like all you have to do is just listen beyond what he says about AEW, and you'll hear he's critical of the whole of the product on the whole.
yep,
But he'll praise when AEW does something right. Problem
yeah.
is, they haven't done anything right for him to praise. Maybe Swerve. Swerve is the only thing that they've done right
I agree. I
because
agree.
I mean, Swerve basically became popular out of spite for that company
Yeah.
because they don't know how to book anybody, just like how WWE doesn't know how to book face champions. But
Um,
I but I digress on that scenario. But Bischoff is I've always had a respect whenever he gives a valid criticism. It's always like what do you know? What have you done? It's like what have you done? He literally beat the number one company in the world because of him. WWE was a number two for a
yeah.
year and a half.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it was neck and neck during that time. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's what he's done. He's also been working in wrestling ever since. He even says since the late '80s, early '90s when he worked for the AWA with Vern, with
Yeah.
Vern Gagne. So yeah,
Exactly.
what has he done? What is And I don't want to get into this, but I'm going to do this as defense of
Hmm.
these people. What the fuck has Tony Khan ever done?
Hmm.
Nothing in the business. He asked his daddy for some money so he could fund a wrestling company for his
Yep.
friends, and he did. So yeah,
Hmm.
that's what he's done. He hasn't worked under like a somebody else or for a smaller
Yeah.
promotion. He literally just asked dad for money and said, "Yeah, all right, so go ahead and do it." So yeah,
Right.
that works. Power to him. I mean, Dixie Carter's did the same fucking thing over in the other place when she took over, and you saw what
Yeah.
it did to that company.
Exactly. Yeah. You're right.
People, there were people that succeed in TNA in spite of Dixie Carter. That's
Hmm.
what's hilarious about it. But
I agree.
it, and I'm curious to see what they say about Russo because that's next week's
That's
episode.
going to be interesting. Yeah.
Because
I'm looking
I
forward to
gotta
that.
hear. I gotta hear.
Yeah.
And I am shocked of one thing. They did not ask Ric Flair or Hulk Hogan to be part of this.
So let me ask you. One, I understand maybe why not Ric Flair because it's not like we would understand a damn thing he'd say anyway. But the second thing is, why would you not ask Hulk Hogan?
This is the only thing I could think of when it came to these guys. They probably didn't ask Hogan or Flair because they probably have a very checkered memory when it comes to the past.
Mm,
Rick is 75 and he's been drinking for 77 of those years. So his brain is practically mush at
mm.
this point. And Hogan, well,
Well, yeah.
there are videos devoted to how much this man misremembers things. We'll just say it that way. But the guys that got me there, they got Booker T, DDP, Nash, Goldberg, Bret Hart. Um, I'm sure there's a couple other guys. Kevin Sullivan. I think what's his name? Mike the guy who was like the head referee, like had Booker for a little bit with them. I can't remember his last name. I want to
Hmm.
say Mike Richards, but I'm almost positive that's wrong.
Hmm.
But they got Bischoff and they're gonna have Russo. So I really it was like they went and got fucking uh psychosis
Hmm.
and Super Colo and Frankie Lancaster, like people who were mid cars next to nobodies. Like they got people who were at the top of the card that they could get. I mean, I'm sure Scott Steiner's probably busy doing something. And, unfortunately, a lot of people have probably passed on from that time.
Yeah. Right.
But it's a very well done documentary, and
Yeah. I agree.
I'd like to
Um,
see this company do something else, like do something for ECW.
yeah,
Let me see that. Let me see
I
that.
wonder if that'll come down the pike for sure.
I think there is something coming because I think they're doing one of the A&E biographies, I believe tonight, and it's on ECW.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's right. It is. I saw that. Okay. So yeah. Yeah, the final two episodes of Who Killed WCW on Vice. I think it's every Tuesday night. So looking forward to seeing episode 3. Really interested in seeing how Vince Russo defends anything that he did in
Please defend
WCW.
the pinata on a pole match.
Yeah,
Defend that.
just
Defend the San Francisco 49er match.
oh,
The one where Dean pulls out the picture of you as Jeff Jarrett, as I put on my Instagram story that day.
that's right. Can't wait. All right, so I'm gonna be kind of veering to George here. Clash at the Castle happened earlier this afternoon as we're doing this live here on Saturday night.
Sure
Uh
did.
2 o'clock p.m. on Peacock on the Eastern Standard Time, obviously. Again, another 5-match card. From what I heard, it was a pretty darn good show. George, I'm going to actually give this to you here. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm going to watch it probably when I get done streaming this. I'm going to go back and watch the show. I just did, it's Father's Day weekend, so there's a lot of things that were planned for me today, so it was just a busy day. But I am going to watch it tonight. But George, Your thoughts on the show?
I thought it was another very good show.
Yeah.
Um, I thought Backlash was a little better.
Hmm.
Not gonna lie. Um, just match quality wise, like the matches were just a little better. Although I'm not this guy, I didn't think any of the matches were really bad.
Hmm.
It opened up with Cody and AJ in an I Quit match,
Okay.
which was pretty good, hard
Hmm.
hitting, a lot of really good spots. Haven't seen a really good I Quit match in a while, so it's nice to see that. Both guys got a little bit of color,
Yep.
which I was like, oh my god, we're doing this. I love
How how did it
AJ getting
happen?
it. Cody got hit with. I think Cody got hit with the ring bell, or he
Oh,
got his
okay.
head bounced, or he got like his head bounced off the ring bell because they were on the outside. Because then afterwards, AJ went over and started talking trash to Mama Rose,
Okay.
while Cody was probably gigging himself on the floor.
I see. Okay.
So the camera pulled away for the misdirection. That's how it's supposed to be done in a professional company. You're not supposed to see them pull the fucking unit out.
Right.
It's ECW, AW, you know who you are. Um, Actually, ECW, they're probably just literally just doing that. So I take all that back.
Flair did it when he was pouring
those
himself a cup of water to watch.
Flair didn't turn off his alarm clock in the morning because he does it with his head. But and AJ got hit with a Cody was handcuffed at one point. He got the
Mhm.
handcuffs off, and he hit AJ with the wrapped up hand.
I see.
And then more of the misdirection. You go back, and AJ's got color. It's like, all right, okay, like
Nice. All
I'm here
right.
for it. And AJ was handcuffed in the corner, and Cody was gonna hit him with the steel steps, and AJ said, "I quit," and then Cody
Wow.
did anyway.
Nice. Okay.
So
A little
good
bit
for
of
that.
heel tactics there.
Yeah, which is what he needs. And then after match, we got a little post match scuffle. Solo came out
Okay.
and
There's the
had a
seeds have been
had a
planted.
had a little stare down with Cody, and then Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa showed up. And they, the three of them attacked Cody, and then Kevin Owens and Randy Orton came out to even the score. So we'll probably get a 6-man tag down the line with the. I
Money in the
guess
bank, maybe.
I guess we'll call this a reunion for Legacy with
Yeah.
Randy Orton and Cody.
Yeah,
I
man.
mean, I guess we had that already, but
Almost
still nice
28
to see.
minutes, I see.
Yeah,
Wow.
and
Good
then
for
and
them.
it's Kevin Owens, by the way, is wearing a shirt that said Scotland 316 and it had the skull on the back. So my man
Yep.
selling t-shirts.
Austin better send Kevin Owens those royalties.
I think Owens should get royalties on every t-shirt that's sold because this man will just wear anything.
I know. I know.
Like, just put him in charge of merch.
And then how was the second match of the at the meeting?
Second match was the triple threat for the
Yep.
women's tag team titles.
Hmm.
That was Jay Cargill and Bianca Belair defending
Hmm.
against Isla Dawn and Alba Fire
Yep.
and Zoe Stark and Shayna Baszler. I'm gonna say this. Uh, Good to see Alba Fire and Isla Dawn back on TV, and we haven't completely forgotten about them.
Agreed. Yeah.
And just show you how much we didn't forget about them, they won the match.
Yeah.
I mean, Bianca and Jade did their double team move on Shayna,
Hmm.
and then as they went in for the pin, Isla Dawn Alba Fire broke it up, and then they covered, and that's how that was.
Okay.
So Bianca and Jade still look good. They didn't take the pin. Shayna took the pin, or Zoe, one of them. They
Yeah.
took the pin, and it was this because they got a nice celebration in front of their hometown, the only celebration of hometown people will see tonight. But it's good to see. And I even texted you. I was like, "Wow, people won in their hometown. That never happens."
That never happens.
But that never happens under the Vince. I mean, let's be honest. You can't win in your hometown all the time.
Yeah, I agree.
So
Yeah. You hear that,
let's
Brett?
yeah. Well, yeah, or Bahrain.
Yeah. You hear that?
Love it.
You hear that, pirate? Just because we're in Canada doesn't mean you can all of a sudden beat the champion.
You're awful.
I know. I know. Yeah.
Third match on the card was the Intercontinental title match.
Yeah.
Chad Gable,
22
Sami Zayn.
minutes.
Another fucking banger from these two. Just
Hmm.
fight forever. I don't even care. This shit
Yeah.
works. I'm loving it. Every match. And it looked like Chad was going to have the win. There was more nonsense with the Alpha Academy, and Sami Zayn capitalized. When Otis actually turns face and lays out Gable, that dude's going to get a pop of the year.
You think you think there's a payoff in line for Gable to get some gold in the end?
I think at some point he will.
Yeah.
From my understanding, from what I heard, I mean, grain of salt, dirt sheets, um, is apparently the Alpha Academy is going to change. So like he's going to get rid of like Otis and Tozawa and Maxine Dupree, and apparently bring in the Creed brothers and Ivy Nile.
Oh, don't do this to me. It's like the world greatest tag team and Kurt Angle all over again.
Yeah, no, it did, and that worked. So I'm not even
Oh,
gonna.
it was incredible.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll probably that'd be nice if we get that because then it gets the Creed brothers back on TV and gives them a little more edge for people to want to see their matches, as opposed to just hey, we're good in the ring. I mean, that's good, but you know, a gimmick helps too. You can't
The
just be
Creed
good in the ring.
brothers are they're incredible. So
Especially what is it? The Julius?
Jacob Casper, but yeah, Julius, yeah.
Yeah, thanks. You fucking
Sorry.
insider.
I'm sorry. I gotta do the gimmick, yo. My bad. I gotta keep his gimmick, Julius. My bad.
Yeah. Don't give me his name that's in your phone, you scum. Like, you jerk.
My bad. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
But
that dude's a freak.
And
then did you see the other one? He put up the tweet talking about the crunch wrap with the big cheese in it.
Yes.
He was like, "Oh, this thing's big. It's bigger than Nia Jackson Bailey's booties, but hopefully tastes better."
Oh my god.
My man.
So
he's not. They become your favorite tag team now, haven't they?
They absolutely have. Hands down, buying their shirts. Or I'm just gonna get them made. Next match here was Bailey and Piper Niven. How did our girl Bailey look?
Bailey looked good, and so did Piper Niven. And so did
Awesome.
Chelsea Green. Chelsea Green comes out, gets sent to the back by the ref, and then comes back out with a luchador mask, and we're not supposed to know who she is.
Dude, I'll tell you what, people shouldn't. I don't mean this in an improper way. People shouldn't sleep on Chelsea Green. That's Matt Cardona's job. But
yeah, that's Matt Cardona's job.
Yeah. People have to go back, and was it her in TNA where she was incredible as the hot mess? She was so believable. That character was great, and I'm really happy that they're kind of maybe slowly but surely implementing those tactics in her character now.
I mean, she's got more charisma than probably half of that.
I agree.
Half of that women's locker room.
Yeah.
And if people are like, "Oh, Chelsea Green's so annoying," I'm like, "Oh my god! Like you people don't even understand gimmicks anymore."
That's her job.
Now it's just how good are you in the ring? Like you gotta be able to do everything. You gotta get people invested in you. Being good in the ring and not having mic skills, I mean, at that point you're Molly Holly. No disrespect to Molly Holly, but she didn't get pushed to the heights that she should have gotten.
Right.
Mainly because she didn't have the charisma of Trish or Lita, and she didn't have surgically enhanced physique.
Correct.
To do such things.
Yeah.
But you gotta have a gimmick because people aren't just gonna come because they want to see your good matches. If you're having good matches all the time, then every match you do is essentially the same. Ric Flair had the same match for 35 years. Hulk Hogan had the same match for 45 years, 400 days a year. Going across the international date line adds 5 days in a week. But you gotta have a flair to get people to keep coming back to want to see. I mean, people were seeing Hogan regardless. But if you look at his match wise, like no one wanted to see Hogan for his matches.
Right.
They want to see him win a match. But they're not sitting there looking like, oh, that's a textbook punch that he did there.
You're right.
The atomic drop looked believable. Like no one's.
Look, I'll say it before, and I hear Bischoff tout about it all the time. You watch, or I watch, everyone that is watching us or going to watch this, we all watch pro wrestling for one major thing: storytelling. Where are we being invested? What are you drawing us to? Because I can hit the mute button and just watch a regular old wrestling match anywhere.
Yeah.
But if you strap a really good story to that, now we're talking here. Like that's what we watch wrestling for.
If you take away the storytelling aspect of it, then you basically just have every other sport that's on TV.
Exactly. You have UFC.
I mean, that's
just not as real.
Here's the thing. Like we're big football guys. We'll watch football no matter what because we
Yep.
like football. There's
Right.
no story to football
No.
unless it's a rivalry game, and even then, you
Right.
better have a good fucking rivalry because
Yeah.
ain't no one paying to see a Seahawks Cardinals rivalry.
Right.
So you guys are in the same division, but nobody cares about if you guys hate each other.
Right.
Now, Giants and Eagles,
Right.
people are invested in that.
Right. Right.
Steelers, Ravens,
Yeah.
all day, every day.
Yeah.
But still, I mean, that's not a story. That's a rivalry built up over years because they constantly play against each other. So
Right.
I guess there's a story there.
Yeah.
But that's why you would have a rivalry game like a Monday night, and then like the Bills versus the Vikings on a fucking Tuesday afternoon because nobody gives a shit. But it's my point to this horrible analogy is storytelling is what's going to draw people, just like a rivalry game in football will draw viewers. That's my main point to all this. It's not just insane ramblings from someone who's half high.
That's right. I mean, but I'm okay with the insane ramblings of Half High.
To be fair, they make sense somewhere down the road. I get there eventually. But either way, Bailey looked good. Piper Niven got a really good ovation from her hometown. I forgot she was Scottish too. And they even talked about her achievements before, how she started wrestling when she was 16, the different companies she worked for. I'm not used to getting this.
I know.
I'm used to just finding out who you were the second you got signed by the machine.
Yeah, I'm used to Big Daddy Cool Diesel, who prior to being a wrestler, got a CDL and delivered through a FedEx truck, so we called him Diesel. That's not what happened, but that's what I'm sure Vince wanted to tell you all.
Yeah, I mean, I don't need to. I mean, as soon as I first saw Test, I'm like, hey, I remember seeing this guy on tour with Motley Crue as their bodyguard.
Yeah.
Yep. Sure. Why the fuck not, right?
Right.
I don't know who Andrew Martin is, and I don't care.
Main event here, man. Damian Priest coming in as the world heavyweight champion, going up against the hometown hero, the prodigal son coming back again, Drew McIntyre, and it ended almost the same way. I guess the same way that I thought it was going to end, which was crazy.
Hey, shout out to the inventiveness of it because I wouldn't have picked that as what was going to happen.
Dude, look, I figured Punk was going to be involved, but the way they did it, that was a beauty. That's a finish.
Yep. So here's what happens in this match. Priest and Drew are going at. By the way, these two guys look great in the ring always.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I guess we got women's world champion talent name today. Yeah. Talent name had a hell of a day, Dean. Talent name had a hell of a day. I can't wait to create that person when I go back upstairs. But these two guys look good together. It's good to see big guys who can move. It's like, love it. It's like two Scott Halls just going at each other.
Yeah.
Say what you want. And then the ref takes a bump. Drew hits a Claymore, and he's got Priest pinned for a 9 count. If you listen to the crowd from Scotland.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, ref comes out 1, 2, and then stops. Camera turns, and it's CM Punk came out dressed as the ref. What I thought was going to happen, second, Priest or McIntyre got up and grabbed Punk, I assumed Punk was going to ring for the bell and just give him a DQ and cost him the match that way. So that would have been fucking dirt. They would got booed out of the arena for that one.
Mm-hmm.
But Punk ends up screwing, they end up getting into a fight. Punk low blows Drew, and Drew does that. He does that same thing everyone else does when they get low blowed in the crotch. They drop to their knees and then they get pushed over like pie faced.
Correct.
Which is why I'm sticking with what I'm going to say after the end of this as my go-to. And then Priest ends up getting the pin with the South of Heaven. 1, 2, 3. Priest retains. Much to the dismay of the Scotland crowd, who the UK for the second time gets screwed out watching Drew McIntyre win a belt. Yeah, and at this point now, I hope it happens every time.
I know. So your thoughts? I mean, you texted me. You thought that might have been a little bit of a double turn there. Do you think that's where they're going to go with that?
I think this was a double turn for McIntyre and Punk.
Okay.
Because, I mean, mainly for yes, they're in Scotland and McIntyre is going to get cheered regardless. But it definitely helps him when Punk basically prevents it from getting the title by doing essentially the most underhanded thing you can do in wrestling by basically a low blow. This
Hmm.
isn't simply just tripping somebody up as like a joke. This was like an intentional, malicious. You give someone a low blow and like look him in the eyes. Like to me, and the Punk was getting booed afterwards. So I'm like, this might be the thing. I mean, I know he's getting booed because he attacked Drew McIntyre in Scotland, but you can always kind of tell like it feels like there's going to be a switch
Hmm.
because there's no way after all of this Drew is still remaining a heel. He's never had the upper hand on Punk.
Hmm.
Punk has kind of always had the upper hand. So the more you look at that, you're like, maybe they are switching to have Punk heel and Drew face because Drew is going to get his revenge on Punk.
Absolutely. It's coming up. It's going to be
Yeah.
more than one match. We're going to see this for a little bit.
Yeah.
Um,
I mean, that's why like my thought process is like, all right, like we know Gunther has a world title match coming up at SummerSlam. So do we put the belt on Drew and then push off the Punk uh and McIntyre match to like another pay-per-view or like a pay-per-view before that no one's really going to be invested in seeing? Or like, do you feed Gunther to champion Drew, knowing that Drew is just going to win anyway? Or do you put Priest and Gunther together to where you don't know who's going to win this match?
mhm.
It could go one way or the other. But I think they do Punk Drew at SummerSlam, like for a first match. And I think at some point down the road, the belt has to go on one of these guys. So
I
pro-
agree.
I would think if I'm doing this, I would put the belt on Punk
Mm,
because it gives Drew more of like an added edge that I need to fucking beat this guy. I say have Punk beat Drew at SummerSlam by some like nefarious tactics, and maybe Punk now gets a title shot because he just beat Drew.
yeah, it looks like we're gonna probably see Punk this week. He talked after the pay per view. He said I was cleared only for referee duty. I had a hiccup out there, but we'll go back to the lab and reassess. My arm feels amazing. I got permission to skip Raw in Corpus Christi to go back home to Chicago to see my doctors with the idea I'm going to be cleared. I don't know if I'm supposed to even say that. I think SmackDown's in Chicago next week, so I'm a Raw guy and skip Raw, get cleared, and show up on SmackDown to give everyone the good news. So the draft is already meaningless, my friends. So
See,
uh,
to me, that's a very heel esque promo.
it does. It's funny when you read it. It's like, yeah, he's kind of saying, "F you, I'm just going to go wherever I want to go."
Yeah,
So, um,
basically saying, hey, Drew, I'm ducking you again.
mhm, yeah. Um, Triple H also announced that Clash of the Castle set a new record for the WWE's largest WWE arena gate in history, surpassing the record set at WWE Backlash in France in May. So um, that's pretty cool stuff. Um, I didn't know that Damian Priest had an injury scare. Um, so
I didn't either.
yeah, he talked about it after the match. He was asked about his health status, revealed that his ankle feels like trash.
Oh, because he went. Oh, that's right. Yeah, he did the rope spot where he got stuck on the ropes in between the top and the middle rope with his foot. So
I just saw it. Didn't
yeah,
look too good. That looked nasty. But yeah, so overall, I think where would you give that show out of a 10?
out of a 10, I'm looking. I want to go maybe 7.5 to an 8.
Okay.
I thought it was a very good show. I mean, even like the bad match on the show, which is the triple threat match, was still pretty good.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cooks in the kitchen, but it still looked good. Jade actually looks a little bit better in the ring,
Hmm.
so she's learning. So it looks like there could be something with her later, like maybe having a longer match on her own without being
Yeah.
carried by a tag team. But it looks like she's getting at least a little better each match, I would say. So
Um, Dean's calling you a shill, of course.
yeah,
I
yeah.
but so overall though, also your thoughts, George, and just like real quick so we can get the back Bad Blood here. Are you so happy with that 5 match concept on these PLEs? And you do 8 to 10 for the Money in the Bank, the Summer Slams. Are you enjoying the 5 match concept?
Yeah, this was like a 2.5 hour pay per view. This worked well for me.
Yeah.
Was this was less time than an episode of Raw. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm fine with
How
that.
about that?
Yeah, but I'm okay with this 5 match standing that they're doing on a. I give it. I, is that a negative? Is that a negative, Dean? Is that
that's
minus 5 stars?
a -5.
That's
Um,
minus 10. It was in the
um,
minus 10 if it's in the opposite of the Tokyo Dome, which I guess would be in the Astrodome. I don't know.
it's a 3 in the Cow Palace. So all right,
Yeah,
so
man.
we ju- we just talked about a show that happened today. Let's talk about a show that occurred 20 years ago on Thursday. Like Thursday was the 20-year anniversary of Bad Blood 2004, George. This pay per view occurred June 13th, 2004, in Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio, an attendance of 9,000 people.
Ugh,
Um,
fold up shop.
Bad Blood grossed over $495,000 in ticket sales with attendance of 9,000, with 264,000 pay-per-view buys. They increased WWE's pay-per-view revenue by $4.7 million compared to the previous year. When it was released on DVD, yes, everyone, physical media was a massive thing in 2004. It's unfortunately it's a dead brand, as they say these days.
I'm trying to
It,
keep it alive. I'm trying to
it
keep it alive.
when it was released on DVD, it peaked at number 3 on Billboard's DVD sales chart. So how about that?
Hey, all
Um,
right.
which is crazy because this pay per view sucked, and we're gonna get to it. But it didn't suck, but it wasn't what I remembered except for one match, and we're gonna kind of talk about all of that. So look, if we looked at 2 months prior to this episode, Backlash of '04 was outstanding. It was incredible. And then you fast forward, 2 months later, you get to this pay per view. Obviously, it's the blow off of the best, rivalry of 2004, which was Shawn Michaels and Triple H, and it's going to be that famous Hell in a Cell match that they had. This is a WWE Raw only production. We're in the era here where Chris Benoit is still the world heavyweight champion. Um, so let's kind of talk about. I know it's almost like taboo to even do it, but who gives a shit? It's been 18 years. So
It's been 17 years.
has it been 7? Yeah, '07. You're right. It's been 17 years. Um, let's just talk about the run, the world heavyweight total run of Chris Benoit here in '04. He wins it in April or March, I'm sorry, at WrestleMania 20. We're in June now. And I got to tell you, George, when I got to the end, I watched every single Raw from like January through June at this point over the last couple weeks. And by the time I got to this pay per view, I just felt, and then by the end of it, I'm like, man, you got to get the title off of the guy. I mean, it's just it really sucked because, and I'll say, and we've talked about this for years, Chris Benoit inside the square circle, one of the best to ever do it. I mean, hands down, one of the best to ever do it inside the ring. But as my world champion in the Ruthless Aggression era, with the roster that they had, they tried it. I was really ready for it to be done. What was your opinion on this guy?
It. I can't even blame it all on Benoit. Like, yeah,
Oh, I
Benoit
agree.
does. I mean, like, yeah, he doesn't have much when it comes to like talk on the microphone. He never really needed to because the gimmick was that he would just do it in the ring.
Yeah,
Like he didn't need to do it. Like he didn't need to talk his way into it.
right.
But I mean, he was given nothing after he won. After he won the damn belt,
Yeah,
there was the triple threat rematch at like the next pay per view after WrestleMania,
yep.
and then like a couple matches with Kane,
Yeah, man.
and like he's kind of a side note because at the same time you got this Kane, Lita, Matt Hardy story going on. Snitzy's going to show up soon, upon a baby. There's a lot going on in
And
2004, Chris.
and
There's a
I
lot going
agree.
on in
It's
2004.
it's my favorite. It's my favorite
There's so
year in
much going
wrestling.
on.
So it's my favorite year in wrestling, and also, even if you watch all the Raws leading up to all these pay per views, he's basically wrapped up with Shawn Michaels going after Triple H, and parts of Evolution. So like Chris Benoit again is just this weird side piece to the main rivalry on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah.
And this is your world heavyweight champion. That's where I thought it's like Benoit was just such a good a good character chasing a world title. I just don't think he ever should have been the guy with the strap in that era, in my opinion.
I mean, he wasn't given anything for in terms of help. It was almost like they put the belt on him, booked him in like a mid feud, so they could be like, well, his run as champion isn't working. See, we were right,
Yeah.
and then and then put the belt on somebody else. But and I told you this, Chris, and you agree because you're like, oh, I was going to say the same thing, you cunt.
I didn't say that, but okay.
No, it was texted as such. The intent was there. What they should have done, like after that triple threat match, is you should still have Benoit running through Evolution.
Yes.
Or have Evolution trying to run through Benoit to get the belt off of him.
Exactly.
That's when you do you do a match with Batista. He's not ready for the world title at this point.
Right.
But you just throw him in there because it's another obstacle for Benoit to overcome. And if Batista at least doesn't get the win, he will have at least softened Benoit up for Triple H.
Right. Right.
And then you have like Flair go at him, for the belt. And then you have Triple H go for him, and he just misses up. And then that's when Orton beats him at SummerSlam. Yep. And then from there you can play out everything else. As you do it, with them turn on Orton, everything else plays out as it does, but it gives Benoit's feud a little more watchability to it.
Yeah.
You want to tune in if you want to see, the top heel in the company going after the top prize in the company.
Right.
That's what you want. So, Triple H is trying to get another win over Shawn. I mean, it was good for the feud that it was. I get it, but maybe they should have just went a different route, just kind of help bolster Benoit, and then maybe they look at him for another title run somewhere down the run.
Right.
And I was thinking about this earlier. Eddie's run was just as long as Benoit's.
Yeah, you're right.
How disappointing is that in the grand scheme? We could sit here and say, oh, like Eddie's a former world champion, but it's like his championship run wasn't all that good either.
No.
I mean, he beat Brock. Not. He beat Angle in a hell of a match at WrestleMania that year, and then lost to fucking JBL.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
In a four corners match.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And, this is you could tell how rough the roster was here in 2004, maybe like the shape that they're in, because Benoit is wrestling 2 matches on this card.
Which was fucking stupid.
Exactly. So let's kind of start, get things rolling here. The opening match of the show, World Tag Team Championships, La Resistance, Sylvain Grenier, and Robert
Conway, you uncultured swine.
I'm sorry. Versus Edge and Chris Benoit. The winners by DQ at the end after 10 minutes, a little over 10 minutes here is Edge and Chris Benoit. Obviously, La Resistance keeps the world tag titles. It was a decent match. I thought the finish looked like shit. Definitely mistimed a lot of stuff there.
Oh, yeah.
That wasn't great. Edge worked most of it. Since of course Benoit has a world title match later on in the show.
Well, he's got a little something to help him through that. So
yeah, I think this match was only done, dude, because of the lack of depth in that tag division on Raw, or basically non-existent.
They couldn't have fucking given that Edge anybody as a partner.
I know. I mean,
if you want to have the same Kane run in, then make Matt Hardy his tag team partner, because that'd be something we could laugh at when we know what's to come from them.
Yep, and it's crazy. You look here, Edge at this point, dude, was struggling so bad to get over as a babyface, which led to that heel turn later on in this year.
Yeah,
that ended up being the savior of his career, and it was it was cool to kind of. See that happen just months later.
I mean, we do a lot of praise for the Ruthless Aggression era, and rightfully so.
I agree.
But there were times where it just seemed like the writers had no idea what to do, and we're just like, let's just have a match in here and hope it's good. I mean, we always get a good match, so it wouldn't be like a loss. But it just seemed like they didn't really know what to do with anything.
Right.
Like when
Right.
La Resistance is defending the tag titles against a randomly thrown together team of Benoit and Edge, like, did you just have nothing? Did you didn't have a
Right.
single tag team? Isn't Hurricane and Rosie still on the show at this point? They
Right.
should be.
Right.
Because I
Makes
don't know.
sense. I agree. Post match, Kane comes in, hits Edge with a boot to the face. Kane picked up Benoit and hits him with a choke slam. And then, for the efforts, Edge gets choke slammed as well. Kane left the ring and whipped Benoit back into the steel steps, and Kane just walks away laughing. I thought that was actually a really good post match angle to build up to the show, to their title match later on. So not too
Two,
shabby there.
2003 to like 2006, Kane was just a fucking mutant.
Oh, dude, he
Like when
really
he took the
was.
mask off and he went just full on heel, he legitimately looked more menacing than he did when he was a heel with the mask on.
For sure, for sure. I agree with you
I mean, this is
wholeheartedly
the
there.
same Kane that stuck the car battery to Shane's nuts.
You're right. Um, we get to the next match here: Chris Jericho versus Tyson Tomko. Why this is on a pay per view? Whatever. Um, it's
What a
I don't
fucking
know.
snooze.
Yeah, it got 6 minutes, dude. This was so bad. I mean, Jericho tried really, really hard,
Yeah, I mean, this
but
is the worst
Tomko
Jericho.
was
This is the worst
green
Jericho match
as
I've ever seen.
grass. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, Tomko was so green, dude. Um, he used an enziguri as a finisher, which is so weak.
and he didn't even like hit it all the way.
I know this was just so bad. I mean, the story here was obviously Jericho and Trish, but boy, the bell unfortunately had the ring, and we had to see a match before we got to that. Um, boy, that killed. When I was watching this show, I'm like, ugh, that was so bad. That was really hard to watch.
It's a shame
Um,
we had to get that, but I mean, the Chris Jericho Christian feud wasn't a bad feud.
no, that wasn't bad at all. Like,
It's
that was
just problem
fine.
is like somebody had to have a dumb lackey, and it was Christian, and he got Tomko.
Yeah,
Christian
man.
was it mirrored? He always just gets saddled with shitty like
Yeah, because it's
bodyguards.
well, yeah, and we also, we found out years later that Vince just did not like Christian at all, and that
Yeah,
was
well,
it.
I don't
And
like Vince. How about that?
I agree. I agree.
I don't like your
Um,
stupid mustache, you creepy pedo.
there's a clip from 3 weeks prior showing Shelton Benjamin pinning Randy Orton in a tag match. 2 weeks later, Benjamin pinned Orton again. On a previous Raw, Batista pinned Benjamin with some interference. Orton beating up Benjamin with the IC title after that. Then we get an interview with Randy Orton by Todd Grisham backstage. Orton said that tomorrow marks the half-year anniversary of his reign as IC champion, which is the longest reign in 7 years at that point. Orton talked about his greatness and said he's a living legend. Orton bragged about how he's accomplished so much at just 24 years old. It's crazy, dude, if you think about it, because 2 months later, he's the youngest world champion of all time. Orton takes a microphone, walks. Orton walked out to the arena, walks out with the Intercontinental title. He bragged about ending Mick Foley's career and spitting in his face. Orton said that he is real and true greatness. Orton said he's 1 in a million and noted that greatness has entered the ring. Talks about his match later that evening, said he wants the respect he deserves. Orton's music played, and then Shelton Benjamin's music hits. And then we have Shelton Benjamin trying to do a promo, but we do get to an IC title match here. Randy Orton versus Shelton Benjamin. This one goes 15 minutes, man. Orton gets the pinfall. This was a damn good match. These were
Mhm.
two young hosses going at it, man. And I was, again, you and I have talked about this before. Shelton Benjamin might be the most underappreciated wrestler ever. And god dang, man, he was just so good. What was your thoughts on this match?
This is a fucking banger, these two.
No,
Yeah, yeah.
not the
No,
former
God
quarterback.
damn him. God damn it. I know who that is. That's him. That's the man upstairs. Who's
Okay.
yeah, you know.
Well, thank you,
Um
Jesus.
he'll accept it.
I bet.
The I mean, it was a hell of a match. These two guys. I mean, it was
Yeah.
like these were young up and comers who had something to prove, and this was the stage that they chose to do it on,
Hmm.
and it was fantastic. I mean, and the one thing I didn't like about the match, the roll up win, the roll up.
I thought you were gonna say like basically the 17 two counts that we got. It just felt like so many two counts, but yeah, that roll up was just I am not a fan.
I'm started looking. I'm like, what? I was like, a fucking roll up? Wasn't even a believable roll up.
I know. I
I
know.
mean, he pulled the tights, so I guess added leverage.
Yeah, I guess, yeah. But
Sure,
with these two in the ring, give me a nice, clean, good finish here. I would have appreciated that.
you're
Um,
damn right.
yeah, I know. We go to the locker room here. Lita's in the locker room. Um, they start, with Matt Hardy. They start making out in the locker room. Security walked in with Eric Bischoff. Bischoff said
Finally,
there he was there to remove Matt to prevent him from interfering against Kane. Matt said that he's there to watch his girlfriend's match. Bischoff said Matt can leave or Lita will be out of the title match. After Bischoff left, Matt said he's going to leave and gave her a kiss for good luck. Just fucking so stupid. We get to the women's title match here, WWE Women's Championship. Victoria versus Trish versus Gail Kim versus Lita. Man, the talent in this ring at once. Again, and you and I have said this before. These are four women way ahead of their time. Like
yep.
just
We
way ahead of their time.
like you guys aren't ready for this yet, but your kids are gonna jerk off to it.
Okay, that's good. This match won another roll up for a finish, which was
Yeah,
great.
yay! Roll up
Um,
number two of the fucking night. Fucking hate this company.
so yeah, that's it really pissed me off. And the fact that they only got 4 minutes and 43 seconds.
Was that only
Um
4 minutes?
4 minutes and 43 seconds. Let's remember everybody that, La Resistance and Edge and Benoit get nearly 11 minutes. Tyson Tomko gets 6 minutes and Trish and company get 4.5. And by the
Yeah,
way, the next match got 7 minutes and 40 seconds, and that involved Jonathan Coachman. So that's where we are. Yeah, so
they
this
had they had no idea what to do with Gail Kim.
no clue.
No fucking clue.
No.
There was just nobody had any idea. Finley wasn't there yet. He could to save the. It is. You're absolutely right. That is just lazy writing,
Yep.
and they had no idea what to do. Yeah.
That's great. This win meant that Trish Stratus is a 5-time women's champion. So good for her, man. But still, 4 minutes and 45 seconds. Again, you're right. They just had no clue what they had with Gail Kim. I was glad to see, Victoria went on to have just an incredible career. Obviously, same with Lita and Trish were already, well made by this point.
I mean, and Gail Kim went on to have an amazing career in TNA,
Oh, an amazing
like the
career.
face of that women's division. Like,
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
mean, they built it around her. TNA basically built the best women's division
Yeah,
when no one was paying attention,
agreed.
which is
Next
disappointing.
match, I guess you could say match here. Jonathan Coachman versus Eugene. Eugene wins after 7 minutes and 40 seconds after a rock bottom and a people's elbow. Yes, folks, you paid $29.95 for this. It I'm not even gonna rate this, man. This was just a complete and utter waste of my time, George. What you have any comment on this?
I do have like something to say on this scenario. It's I forgot how hard this company went to like mock Eugene in 2004.
Yeah,
Like,
it
I
was
mean, they're
so.
basically all of just without actually just calling him a retard, basically
Do
calling
you
the
think there's a shot that anything like this shows up on their TV in 2024?
absolutely not. But I'm also going to tell you this because I remember reading this with on Eugene is his gimmick apparently like a lot of people in that community looked up to him because they thought he actually was. And they're like, oh,
Mhm.
he can do it. I can do it too. So, I mean,
You're
there's
right, I guess.
inspiration there. So I can't knock it, but apparently like the gimmick was Rip Rogers' idea. Yes. Yes.
I can't-
Because Rip Rogers inspired the gimmick off of his son who was autistic. So it wasn't like it was done out of bad faith.
Right.
He's going to ruin this whole thing.
Two of the best comments I've ever had on any show
Yeah.
I've ever done. I can't read them anymore because I'll lose it. Yeah, so this is let's just remember that 2 months after this, Eugene is wrestling Triple H at SummerSlam. So
What a match.
I'm starting to rethink 2004 as being my favorite year.
Yeah.
Um,
I like it. Why was Coachman having matches?
dude, I don't know, man. On a
How
pay-per-view.
bad was this? I want to see a roster list for 2004 Raw to see if there wasn't anybody else we could have just put in that spot.
I know. Anyone at all.
Anybody? Rodney Mack, is he still on the roster?
Ugh.
Can somebody go find him? Cena
Jeez.
debut yet? We need somebody.
I know the Cena debut yet. Next match here, we get to see our world champion for a second time. You know what's
Hey.
funny? If this was, 10 years later, or let's just say 2004, 15, 16, about like 12 years later, if this was Roman Reigns showing up twice on a pay-per-view, the IWC would cut their heads off in anger. And, if Triple H in 2004 was wrestling twice on a pay-per-view, they would all literally just boycott the company.
Fucking scumbag. He's just burying everybody.
Yeah.
Golden shovel.
Exactly. But here we are. Chris Benoit and Kane get 17 minutes and 50 seconds, which I am going to say I enjoyed the match. I really did enjoy the match. I thought Kane was at his best when he got guys like Kurt Angle, Shawn Michaels, Chris Benoit, because I just thought that, he worked with guys that would get, that he was able to destroy. The dudes would sell for him. They would, take that beating and then have good comebacks because they're really good workers. What was your thoughts on this match? Because look, Kane was never really known as a big, main event type guy, but he gets a main event, I guess you could say a main event match here against the world heavyweight champion.
I mean, Kane can hang. I mean, Kane can hang with the best of them. So yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right, Dean. He's no Will Ospreay.
That's right. Kane and Benoit liked to work back then.
Yeah.
So they're definitely not
Kane,
Will Ospreay.
Yeah. Kane was afraid of the grind, so he was. In fact, he encouraged the burn, so it's fine with it.
So, what were your thoughts on this match?
I thought it was a pretty decent match for what it was. Benoit can. Here he fucking goes.
I can't. He's banned. He's banned.
We got both of them working against us. We're just getting nowhere.
I'm not looking at any of them. I'm getting out of that page. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Great. It means I'm going to see him.
I'm not looking at him.
But yeah, I mean, but Benoit could work with anybody.
Yeah.
So it was a decent match of itself. And Kane, he's not a slouch. He can hang with anybody. And the stuff when he'll work with Benoit and Angle would show that Kane actually was pretty technically sound for the most part.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
If he was working with somebody who was technically sound, he could you're right. He could hang with anybody. Yeah. And this is where I get the cringe factor. After the match, Benoit's interviewed by Todd Grisham in that backstage area. Benoit put over Kane being a machine and it's just not his night. And then Benoit just kept saying line after line, he's for real. He's for real. We get it.
But the funny thing is, he would say that at like the end of his sentence, and then Todd Grisham would ask another question. It's like, what are you doing? Like the promo's over, and then he'd do it again, and then Todd Grisham would ask another question. I'm like, nobody else has promos directly after they're done having a 17-minute match.
Yeah,
like, what the hell is even happening here? It's
Yeah,
like you are purposely setting up Benoit to fail so
but
you can be justified in taking the title off him later.
and by the way, you could tell George, that's WWE, that's Vince telling Benoit, dude, you got to
Yeah.
put over your for real. We have T-shirts that say for real at this time. You just say it, say
They
it as
should have
much
just
as you
had him
can.
doing the Horseman logo since he was part of the Four Horsemen.
Yeah, exactly.
Use that angle,
Yeah,
stupid,
yeah.
fucking old piece of shit.
So, but he said
As
it
I'm
3
yelling at Vince
times.
20 years ago.
I went back before this and I watched
Yeah.
that promo
It was
again. He
3
said it 3
times.
times.
Yeah.
Oh, that was hard to watch. So we get to the main event of tonight's show here. The Hell in a Cell structure is being lowered. A video package, a badass video package showcasing HBK and Triple H feud. There was a Benoit Michaels match with Triple H costing him the victory. Michaels paid him back by eliminating Hunter from that Battle Royal on Raw. The brawling continued from there. Bischoff put them in a Hell in a Cell match that was demanded by Shawn Michaels himself. Triple H talked about how he has never lost in a Hell in a Cell match, in singles matches, that is. The story was that they were best friends. Now they're rivals and have had a lot of matches, but never in a Hell in a Cell match until this one. Triple H comes out, man, in the white boots, the white tights, and I was here for it. And just incredible. Michaels comes out to a mega ovation. This match, dude, goes 45 minutes and 47 minutes and 26 seconds, the longest Hell in a Cell match of all time. What do you what did you think of this one? Because I'll tell you, I gave it 4.5 stars. This match, to me, was the epitome of storytelling and
This is
psychology.
one of the absolute best Hell in a Cell matches of all time.
Yeah.
If not the best. You can make the argument, and I wouldn't even try to fight you on it. But yeah, I mean, this was the end of a 2-year-long feud.
Yeah.
Essentially, this is starting in the middle of 2002.
Yep.
Almost 2 years to it. So
Yeah,
when it came back.
You're right.
But yeah, it's they really don't do stories like this anymore.
Yeah.
And it's a shame. I mean, God help them, they're trying, but
yeah,
this kept you invested for 2 fucking years.
Yep.
And it wasn't like there was a belt involved. Yeah, they're like the title changed hands once,
Mhm.
between them, or twice, because Shawn got it and then Triple H got it back. But I mean, for a while it seemed like these guys literally hated each other.
Oh my God!
Like
Yeah,
the
it was
story
so
was
good.
that good. So
Yeah.
so it's that way. Like when they were reformed DX 2 years later, people lose their shit.
I will say this. I think it and I've watched this match. God, I mean, God knows how many times I've watched this match. It's one of my favorite WrestleMania HBK matches. If they would have taken 10 to 15 minutes off of this match, I think it would have been hands down the way they would have probably, been able to incorporate the match 10 to 12 minutes shorter. I think it would have been absolutely maybe the best Hell in a Cell match of all time. I still think the very first Hell in a Cell match is my favorite ever. But man, if you would have shaved about 10 to 15 max off of this, dude, I think it would have been almost untouchable. I really do.
Could have shaved 10 minutes off of that match and put it on the women's match.
I agree. I agree. But yeah, man, like by the time this match ended, it took 3 pedigrees to get Triple H or to get Shawn Michaels to lose. Just some of the bumps, dude, like the blood, by the way, dear Lord. They both, took their baby aspirins before this match, I'll tell you that much. Some of the bumps on this match, I loved how much Michaels sold the back injury starting like in the very beginning of the match. It was a very slow burn to get to that.
He was selling that back injury for like the rest of his career.
I know. It was just very well done in this match. And I loved in this match also, and JR really helps out with the commentary, just how much they were able to just put over how vile and the cerebral assassin, how cerebral Triple H was as a heel. Like they just put him over so well. as just that devastating son of a bitch, as you know, JR have said a billion times towards Triple H. Dude, these two are a rivalry made in wrestling heaven. You know, we talked earlier like about Fight Forever with the match, you know, that we watched, you know,
Mhm.
on Clash at the Castle. Dude, this is another rivalry where I'm just like, dude, just keep fighting. Just go, go,
Yeah.
go. I don't care. Um, that's how I felt about the match. I loved it. Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's probably my second favorite Hell in a Cell match ever, behind the original, of course.
Mhm.
Um, this pay per view, man, almost went 3 hours. Just really, really tough to get through, man. Like, you know, it was just overall. I thought Shelton Benjamin and Orton, and then of course, you know, Hunter and Michaels were the stars of the show. Um, but I'll tell you, you know, out of 10, dude, what are you giving this show?
5.
That's what I landed on. You know, there was enough good work in the ring to avoid it being a terrible show. But
Yeah.
it is mostly outside of that Hell in a Cell, dude. It is very much completely forgettable. You know,
Yeah.
the only thing I remembered going into this is the Hell in a Cell, and I did remember the Kane and Benoit match because it was before the Hell in a Cell match. And then I watched it from start to finish. I'm like, oof, I can't go. You know, the five, I cannot go above a 5. Raw had so many depth issues at this point. You know, Chris Benoit is working 2 times on Bad Blood.
Yeah.
Like it's, yeah, I can't go any more than a 5. I'm with you.
It's it's like, yeah, the Hell in a Cell match and the Orton match are great matches to watch, but I wouldn't want to have to sit through this pay per view to watch them again.
Yeah,
Like
I
I could just
agree.
look them up on YouTube and just watch the highlights rather than sit through this whole pay per view again.
I agree. Totally agree. All right, so that wraps up a packed show. So this was a lot of fun getting this in here. Really happy we were able to make it happen. Next week on the Hot Tag Wrestling Show, we're going to be talking about the Great American Bash from 1996. We're going even further back in our time machine here, and we're going over to WCW. So I'm very much excited to talk about the Great American Bash 96. And then after that, we're going to round out June with King of the Ring 2001. Really excited to talk about that show. George, you got anything else to add before we wrap this up?
We got a episode of Multiverse coming up this
Awesome.
week. The one we just released earlier this week was The Lion King for its 30th anniversary. Chris,
Hmm.
unfortunately, we couldn't have you on for that one,
Yeah, that was
but
rough.
we will have you on for next week's episode, which will be our casting of the Guardians of the Galaxy in the 90s. So your
Can't wait.
5 main Guardians of Star-Lord, Gamora, Drax, Rocket, and Groot, plus also Yondu, Nebula, Mantis, and the 3 villains as well: Ego, Ronin, and the High Evolutionary, and Kraglin. I always forget about him.
Hmm.
So should be a pretty fun show. My list is already done for
Hmm.
the most part. I keep changing it, and the trick of it is finding somebody who I didn't already cast in the previous '90s Avengers episode that we did.
Oh, that's right. That was a lot of fun. So I'm
Yeah,
looking forward to doing that
and
again.
I actually wrote your guys' lists down when we were doing it, just in case we need to go back to them for reference. So I have it if you want me to send it to you.
Yeah, please do that because it'll help me out a little bit.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, looking forward to doing that. I'm always excited when I have an opportunity to get on the Multiverse Movie Podcast. So definitely check that out wherever you guys listen to podcasts. Listen for George, not for Dean. I'm just joking, guys. I love all of you. If you're on the
Slander.
if you're on our YouTube channel, please like, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications when our shows are going live or get posted. So thank you very much to everybody who does that as always. Again, at the Hot Tag Podcast on Instagram, check us out there as well. Give us a follow. So for George Rogers and Christy Francesco, we'll catch you guys down the road. Have a great rest of your weekend, everybody, and we'll see you soon. Bye bye.